Welcome to the Leadership Unveiled podcast series by the HR Association of India. The series explores the minds and journeys of the pioneering leaders, entrepreneurs making waves in the business world. I'm your host, Neha Jagnani, and today we have a truly special guest, a dynamic entrepreneur, a groundbreaking innovator, and someone whose experiences is a mix of inspiration as well as the valuable insights. Join us in welcoming Abhishek Poddar.
So for having me.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Abhishek is the co-founder and CEO of Plum, a 2019 founded health insurance platform in India. Passionate about improving healthcare accessibility, Plum aims to accelerate health insurance adoption by offering high quality and affordable plans. Abhishek previously founded RentZeal, Palo Alto, US, which is like an eBay for product rentals, because that has brought together consumers and small rental shops. Abhishek has also worked with McKinsey and has held key roles in Google, contributing to Google My Business and Google Pay. He has also founded HyperTrack, specializing in real-time location tracking APIs. Abhishek is an IIT Kanpur graduate and a Stanford MBA. Abhishek's LinkedIn profile has been added to the video description. Abhishek, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hey, doing very well, and thank you again so much for having me. Great to have this opportunity to talk to your audience.
Wonderful, Abhishek. Thank you so much. So to kick things off, Abhishek, I would like to know what is the inspiration that was there behind starting Plum and particularly your journey in the healthcare and insurance sector?
Absolutely. So it's been more than 4 years of journey building Plum. And I think you captured my past experience pretty well. So this has been my third startup, and Saurabh, who's my co-founder, this is his second startup, and this is back in 2019 when we were thinking what's next that we want to build. And before figuring out what to build, we were discussing some of the principles and some of the whys we want to build. And two things that we aligned pretty early on is one, we wanted to build something that can truly leave an impact beyond just creating wealth for us, truly leave impact on the lives of people. And number two, let's build something that is more long lasting, and hopefully it lives beyond us and not just for the next 5 years, 10 years. A lot of entrepreneurs think, especially when we are building the first company, we think of startups in years, which is, hey, what do we build for the next 2 years or 5 years? We have been through this journey a few times and we realized that, hey, building a company would require decades. So let's pick a problem statement that would keep us busy, keep us excited for decades. And I think these two intersection of impact and things that can be built for more long term. I think this problem statement of insurance and healthcare really excited us. We are with Plum, we are really at the intersection of healthcare and insurance. And these are two industries where if you do a good job, you're really impacting the lives of people. You're really impacting the health of people. You are helping them get both better financially and health-wise. And number two, you can only build this really well if you commit yourself for the next 20, 30, 40 years. If you're doing this for, let's say, 5 years, you would truly not have an impact. So that's how we decided, or that's how we finalized that, hey, this is the segment that we want to play in.
Sure, absolutely. And of course, after COVID, Abhishek, the awareness of and the importance of healthcare, health insurance has been particularly being talked about. So my next question, Abhishek, is how does Plum addresses the complexities that are there associated with insurance? And have you implemented any innovative solutions to sort of create a user-friendly experience for employees?
Got it. So if you think about insurance, insurance as an industry is one of the oldest industries to exist in the world. It has been there for centuries. But one of the biggest problem with insurance and why penetration is so low is it is very complex. So your question is very pertinent on what are we doing to solve some of the inherent challenges of the complexity associated with insurance. I would pick three things. The top three things that makes insurance very complex is number one, when you're purchasing a health insurance policy or whatever insurance policy, how do you make sure that you have chosen the right kind of policy in itself? Because most of the people don't really understand what they are purchasing. And we are in the business of B2B insurance. We help organizations design the right kind of insurance of their employees. So it's become much more important, right? Compared to purchasing it for one person, you're taking a decision for thousands of people. So that is complexity number one, which is educating people to take the right kind of policy. The complexity number two is how do you ensure that people really understand their policy well once they have purchased it? And this is more important in our business where the buyer is different from the user. In most of the scenarios, in most of the products, the buyer is the same as the user, right? You purchase, let's say, a shampoo and you will be the user. In this case, the HR is making the purchase, but your employees are using the product, wherein an employee might not even understand what is covered, what is not covered. So how do you really simplify the policy in simple English, where imagine a 10-year-old should also be able to read the Plum interface, the Plum app, and say, okay, I understand this. Yeah, this is covered, this is not covered, or this has these sublimits. So that's the complexity number two that we are solving, which is really understanding your benefits or your insurance. And the third, which is probably the most critical part, is the claims process in itself. The common, if you just go down the street and like talk to 100 people and ask them, hey, do you like insurance, or do you like your own insurance policy? And they will say, hey, I'm not purchasing an insurance because I never trust if they will pay my claim. Right? That's a common thing. And that's the change that we want to bring in, where people say, hey, because of Plum, the claims was so easy. And I know that, hey, if I make a 5 lakh rupee expense at a hospital for my surgery, that money will come to me within a certain time. And hopefully it is almost real time, but it will come without a lot of friction. So that's the third challenge that we are solving, which is how do you really make claims, one, very predictable and very frictionless for the end user.
Absolutely. Quite intriguing, Abhishek. Abhishek, my next question is with respect to technology. Everybody is talking about it. We are in the digital era. So I would like to know, how has Plum leveraged technology to streamline its processes and sort of is striving to stay ahead in the competitive landscape of health benefits along with technology?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll pick some of these examples where I talked about complexities itself, right? So the third part that we were talking about was claims. Before Plum, if you have to, let's say, get a claim done, you would print out a very long 4 to 5 page claim document, which you would never understand. You have to fill that up. You have to collect all the physical bills, go to a courier shop, courier it to the insurance company, and then let the insurance company know that you have done this courier, and then wait for maybe a month to hear back from them. And they will tell you that, oh, sorry, this document was missing, or hey, sorry, the claim form that you filled had this error. Please redo everything and resend to us. And the clock starts again. And you again, 1 month later, you will hear back from them, right? So that was the usual process of getting a claims done.
Right.
I think that's just very complicated, right? So what we did was with Plum, everything is digital. You come to Plum app, you don't have to fill a claim form itself. We pre-fill the claim form for you. We just ask, see, on a claim form, if you ever have gone through a claim process, 80% of the information that you have to fill is already known by Plum or the insurance company in the first place. So we can actually pre-fill the claim form with your name, policy number, date of birth, etc. And we ask only for details that we don't know. Okay, which hospital you went to, what surgery, and what was the amount that you spent. And then we pre-fill the claim form and you just hand sign it on a mobile app and your claim form is done. What the process that would have taken days, it's now done in seconds for you. Instead of sending any document by courier, we say, hey, pull out your mobile app, the Plum app, take pictures of all the bills and receipts that you have. And we have built scanning algorithms on our app that will tell you if there are errors in the bills or receipts or anything that you're uploading. So it will give you feedback in real time rather than 1 month later, so that if there is any correction that you need to do in the documentation, you can just do it in real time. This entire process will probably take you 2-3 minutes to submit a claim. And then hopefully within the next 48 hours or 72 hours, you get the money in the bank. So instead of a process that would have taken months, we are trying to compress that whole thing in hours or at most 3 to 4 days. Instead of a process which would require you to go to a courier shop or a printer shop to get printouts and to do courier, everything is done sitting at your home, right? So that's just a small example of how we are using technology to simplify claims. We talked about the complexities of understanding your policy. So very small feature that we built right now. The world talks about the learning models, but it's a very simple use case of learning model that we used, which is we have your policy. We input your policy into our own learning model. And we have built this tool called Policy GPT instead of a chat GPT, wherein you can just go and ask, hey, this is the kind of surgery that I'm going through. Is it covered or is it not covered, or is there any sublimits? And this learning model has a much better understanding of your policy and can give you a answer in plain English rather than you searching through a 50-page policy document. It can just say, hey, yeah, this is covered, but hey, this is a sublimit, or this is a kind of copay that you may anticipate in this policy, right? So again, very simple use of technology for a simple use case. We are not doing anything groundbreaking, but it's a simple technology that we have used to help you understand your own policy in a more human way.
Absolutely, Abhishek. And in today's world, I think for people, it's not tedious. It is going to be a game changer for everybody. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those examples. Abhishek, I'm curious to know about this particular questions that I'm going to pose. Is every individual has different financial situations and needs. So how does Plum sort of tailor its offerings to this diverse set of audience that are there from different organizations? So how do you meet those expectations?
No, it's a great question, actually. And I would say, yeah, we haven't fully solved it yet. We look at organizations in broadly two categories, two segments, smaller organizations and larger organizations. If you are a large organization, we help you really understand who your employees are, what are their needs, and help you customize your insurance cover first at an organization level. So if you're an organization like, let's say, Swiggy or Zomato, each of these organizations have very unique needs because their employees are very unique. So the cover should also be very custom designed rather than run of a mill insurance cover at an org level. So we understand the needs of the organization and their people, looking at their usage of insurance in the past. And almost every policy that we would have are unique in our system in that way. So that is one kind of customization at an org level. Second kind of customization is at an individual level. So let's say as an organization, I have 10,000 employees. Okay, at an org level, we have decided a certain kind of benefit, but I have different need from Neha, who's working at the same organization. So how do I differentiate my covers that I have? So we built something called flex programs where employees can go and choose their own covers on top of what my organization is giving to me. And this is actually truly a unique program that we have built right now, more applicable to larger organizations where employees can go and customize based on what they need. Plum would go and recommend that, hey, Abhishek is of this age group, has these kind of medical history and this kind of family members, and hence this is the right kind of cover based on what we understand. But Abhishek can choose eventually what he or she wants. These are applicable more for the larger organizations. For the smaller organizations, so instead of a 10,000 people organization, now think of a 10 people organization. And this is truly, to me, this was truly one of the groundbreaking things that we did when we started Plum, which is before Plum, if you were like an early stage 10 people organization, no insurance company was ready to give an insurance cover to you. And Plum was the first organization to make that happen in India, where, hey, organization of all sizes and shapes should be able to take insurance in the first place. So there, what we do is those organizations don't even have a basic understanding of what insurance to take in the first place, and there are no insurance companies ready to give them insurance, right? So there you have to start with bare minimum, which is, hey, this is the first time you're taking insurance. Let's do the basics. Let's take a insurance cover, which most of the other organization of your size is taking, and let's use that as a starting point. And then as you evolve and as you grow, then we will start customizing your policy, right? So we take those differentiated approach based on how large or small you are.
Oh, wonderful. That's truly wonderful, Abhishek. So this brings us to the last question for the day, Abhishek, which is, if you had to share some valuable lessons that you learned along the way for the aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs from the healthcare industry, what would those be?
It's a very loaded question. In the healthcare, I would say three things. Number one, you have to play the long game. You can't take a very myopic view if you want to make an impact on health of people. Health is something that requires long-term engagement with your end user. That's the only way you can improve the health of people, which means that you as an organization, when you're building in the business of health, everything that you build has to be thought of years and decades rather than months and quarters, right? So that is learning number one, which is playing the long game. Number two is as an organization, a lot of times, see, as an organization, eventually you're responsible to your shareholder, and hence you're only thinking of, hey, what is a profit that I can build? But there is a nuance when you're building in health. Yes, you have to create profit, but the right approach should be, hey, optimize first for health outcomes, and then money will follow, rather than vice versa. If you are not optimizing for the health outcomes of people, no matter what you do, maybe in the short term, you will be able to create a profitable organization. But long term, if the health outcomes don't exist, positive health outcomes don't exist, those users won't stick to you. And as an organization, you won't do well, right? So to me, that's the second learning, which is always optimize for positive health outcomes. Your organization will succeed in the long run. Number three is, if you're building in health, health is so vast as a space that you can't do everything under the sun on day one. So start with very, very focused interventions or very focused areas that you are going to build, right? So maybe as an organization, you're saying, hey, I will only solve for diabetes as a problem, or I will only solve for people exercising as a problem, or whatever that one problem area is, versus, hey, I will do all kinds of healthcare management from day one. One very focused area, one very focused intervention, do it really well, become the best, then pick up the next. And you can eventually build everything in healthcare, because it's a long journey. You're going to play it for 20, 30, 40 years. Maybe it's 2, 3 years per area, but pick one thing, do really well, and then move to next, rather than on day one saying, hey, I'll do everything. So I would say those are probably the top three learnings.
Wonderful, Abhishek. Especially the last point, as you mentioned, you have to focus on one niche to start with rather than, having it all together. So great. Abhishek, thank you so much for your valuable insights and experiences. It was an absolute pleasure to, listen to your insights. And I'm sure people who are going to view this podcast are going to greatly benefit from the experiences and examples that you shared. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, thank you so much, Neha, for having, and anyone who's listening, if you think we can make an impact on the health of your employees, please do ping us. We are on plumhq.com.
So Abhishek, I'll just have a quick note to our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. If you have enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Until we meet next time, stay inspired and keep innovating.